Hey, I'm Olivia,
I'm Regan.
and you're listening to Soarin' Around WDW. Okay, so today we have a very special guest. Today on the podcast, we have our dad. And our dad was the person who inspired the Jola family history of Disney. He's the one that was Disney obsessed and brought us into this crazy obsession. So we thought he was appropriate to be our first guest. So we have a couple of questions for him. But thanks for coming on today, Dad.
Glad to be here. Glad to be part of the podcast.
Yeah, he is 100% the reason why, every idea that I've had so far, like that down the rabbit hole of ride challenges and everything has been derived from stuff that he came up with when we were younger. So it is owed to him. So it's really exciting to be doing this. So we're just going to talk to him and just kind of ask about just our family history of Disney, his history of Disney, and how things have changed and evolved / devolved over the course of many years with Disney. So Olivia is going to kind of facilitate more or less, and so I'll try
as per usual.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Dad, kind of starting very beginning, how old were you when you first went to Disneyland? Because you went to Disneyland first, is that correct? I'm assuming.
That is correct. Let's see, I was 10 years old and it was in the summer. It was in July and I was between fourth and fifth grade.
Hmm.
And that's when our family took the Pontiac station wagon with my little sister, Julie, who was 3, Tammy was 12, Tara was 13, my mom and dad, and we packed it up and we drove up to Minnesota, through South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, all that, down to Denver to visit cousins, crossed through Las Vegas and over to Disneyland. And we made it to the what we called hallowed ground for kids back in the day. It's much similar to the Vacation movie with Chevy Chase, who did go from Chicago out to Wally World. Our adventure wasn't quite like that, but it was that idea, with the station wagon and all the kids piled in it.
How long was that trip total then?
Our trip total was about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And the price of gas, I think, was like 30 or 40 cents a gallon.
Wow, that's crazy. And it was in the summer because Grandpa was off of work.
Right. Being a high school math teacher, he was off. He'd teach driver's training first, and then by mid-July he'd be done, and that's when we typically would go up to Minnesota. In this case, we did the big trip, which was always be called the big trip to all of us kids to this day. And we remember it very fondly.
How many days did you do at Disneyland?
Regan, we did 1 day.
All that driving for 1 day?
Well, we got to remember, we had all these stops. We stayed at my cousin's house in Anaheim.
Okay.
My dad's brother, Warren Jola, they had a pool, in-ground pool coming from Alpena, Michigan. It was like we're in Nirvana. It was awesome. But we stayed there for almost 5 days. We went to Tijuana, Mexico. We went to San Diego and SeaWorld. We went to see the ocean because we're in California. We just don't go to Disneyland, Regan, for 5 straight days like you guys probably would. So yes, we did 1 day, and we going down that rabbit hole just briefly. We didn't even see the fireworks.
Ooh.
My mother, I love her to death, bless her heart, but she's like, it's time to go home. It's getting late. We're like, we want to see the fireworks. You got to be kidding me. And so we never saw the Disneyland fireworks.
Did you rope drop? Was that a thing back then?
I don't really remember, but I'm sure being Jola's, we were there right as the park opened.
Yeah. So that would have been 1970.
1970, yeah. I was 10 years old.
And it was in the summer, so was that still considered peak season? Was it super busy?
Well, I'm trying to remember being 10 years old. I do have a lot of home movies my Grandpa Joe, my dad took, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was busy, but it wasn't, I don't think as slammed as
it gets now.
Magic Kingdom gets now. I think that's just a whole nother level.
Right.
But it was very busy and it was a bucket list of many families and many kids growing up. And we can talk more about that, why that is, but yeah.
Okay, cool. And so, were there any really memorable rides from your first trip that stuck in your head and made you become Disney obsessed?
Um, yes, there were two. One is kind of silly, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Okay,
We've talked about
interesting.
that
As
ride
crazy as that is,
extensively on this
I
podcast.
took my little sister who was 3. Her and I were very good friends, and we still are to this day. And I took her on that, and the part where you basically
Go to hell.
Go to hell.
go to hell and have a train come right at you because you're on the tracks. I don't think I ever forget that. And I think my little sister was, wounded for life because of that
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, poor
situation.
Aunt Julie.
Yeah. So, but that was one thing I remember, and I thought that was really cool. But the ultimate ride for me to this day, the Haunted Mansion.
Mm.
It just
Yeah.
opened the year before, 1969.
Oh, cool. So it was new.
Brand new, and I just went on it once. No, Regan, we didn't go over it again and again and again because we had
I don't do that anymore.
we had ticket books. We had ticket
Right,
books.
right.
A, B, C, D, and E. You got a couple A's, couple B's, couple C's, couple D's, something like that. Don't hold me to that. And that ticket book was about $5.75, and that got you
Total.
in the park
No
the
way.
whole day. But
Wow.
you only had your ticket book. Once you used your ticket book up, you had to go buy another ticket book. So
But
if
you
you wanted to go
could-
to Haunted Mansion twice, you had to go buy another ticket book and use that e-ticket. That's where they get the e-ticket from, was the best rides of its day.
There was only one e-ticket per book. Ish.
Don't hold me to that because I don't remember, but I'm thinking probably.
So if there were multiple e-tickets in the book, could you go on the same ride more than once? Like, or were they
Sure.
specific per ride?
No,
Okay.
but they didn't have anything like that. You had to
Right.
go get another ticket book. You had to drop another $5.75.
Was that like steep back then?
No,
No,
it's pretty reasonable. When
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
about where it is now,
Right.
it's just not, it's there's no comparison.
Right. Well,
Right.
I'm thinking about like the ticket book compared to like, because you said you could only go on that ride once, and like I'm thinking about that
Like an
compared
individual
to
lightning lane.
lanes. Yeah. Like individual lightning lanes where it's like you have to either get the virtual queue or buy that ride. Like Guardians, you can only go on Guardians with the single pass or with a virtual queue, and that's it. And so you can max go on it twice in a day.
Right.
But otherwise, you can only go on it. Most people probably only get it once per day, and you can't just like hop back in line. So it was
Right.
kind of like that back then in the day,
Right.
to a degree.
I remember the D ticket ride. The D ticket ride would be like the submarine voyage. Remember
Yeah,
the submarine?
20,000 Leagues Under the
Uh-huh.
Sea.
That would be like a D ticket. An A ticket would be the Main Street vehicles. You go, the
Right.
little fire engine or the double decker bus.
Right.
That would be an A. A carousel would be an A.
Small World.
Small World would probably be like a C. I'm
Okay.
just guessing.
Sure.
Don't hold me to that, but I'm just trying to think about that a little bit. But yeah, that's how it worked. But going to Disney
Okay.
back then, of course, you only made a $1.75 an hour minimum wage too.
Right, yeah.
You put it in perspective, but still,
Yeah.
it was a much better deal for gas and travel and everything back then than it is today. Hands down,
Sure.
hands down.
Yeah.
So Mr. Toad's would have been like a C or a D.
I think Mr. Toad's was
Probably.
probably a C, but again, don't hold me to that. Yeah, that would be one of those intermediate rides.
Okay.
And those are the two that stand out. I remember other rides. They didn't have Space Mountain yet, of course.
Yeah.
They had Pirates, but I never got on Pirates then. I had to pick between Haunted Mansion and Pirates.
So they were both e-ticket.
They're both e-ticket. And Pirates
Oh, wow.
Pirates came out just before, I think in 67. That's the last ride that Walt Disney was kind of tied to and really, saw all the miniatures made of the whole ride and everything. If you see some of the old YouTube videos, you'll see some of that information on there. But yeah, so those two rides have been my favorite forever.
Was there any coasters at that time or no?
Like Big Thunder or
Was Big Thunder?
No, all that's not 1970.
Okay.
It was real tame, and they started thinking we got to start. This is a real family park, but there are a lot of teens are like, we need a coaster,
Yeah,
And then I think that's when they got into Space Mountain. I think was the first big coaster, and then I think Big Thunder came into play, or Splash somewhere. I don't know all the dates, but
Yeah.
So they started
because
getting
the
into more.
competition for Disneyland was Knott's Berry Farm, is that right?
Yeah, Knott's Berry Farm was apparently the first theme park. Disney, they go back and forth, but Knott's Berry Farm was around before Disneyland. That was
Disneyland.
1955. I think Knott's was earlier than that.
And did they have coasters there or not really? It was more similar, like
I-
teacup-y rides.
Don't have a real strong background in Knott's Berry Farm. I've seen a
Okay.
lot of videos, but I don't
Curious.
know. Yeah,
Is it still open?
oh yeah, very, very. They
Popular.
have Knott's Scary Farm for Halloween and
Yeah.
Knott's Merry Farm for Christmas.
Nice.
I mean, you know,
They were,
yeah. So
they set that up.
yeah, it's grown. If anything, it's grown.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then have you ever been back to Disneyland? I actually don't know the answer to this.
No,
Oh my gosh, we have to go. What?
Yeah.
How is
never,
that?
never been back. Only
Wow.
because we had, Walt Disney World in our backyard, basically.
Right,
So
yeah.
like
Right.
almost like what's the point? But I think I know obviously it's changed dramatically since when I was there. It's
Yeah.
grown immensely. And some parts are gone. That makes me kind of sad. Like the TTA, they dumped that.
Yeah.
And they what is the overhead
The
Skyway.
Or
Skyliner.
Skyway. Of course they pulled those out at both parks in the mid 90s and we know why, but
Yeah.
you
People
kind
are
of
spitting on people.
spitting on people and stuff. It's not a good look. But yeah, I've only been there once, and that was when I was 10.
Do you have any desire
Wow.
to go back?
Yeah,
At least
sure,
once?
sure, and I'm sure we'll get back there. I'd love to go back. Yeah, there's parts of it, and there's not a lot there that's the same, right? I mean, so many things have been
Yeah.
changed and added and pulled out.
Mhm.
But still, it's still everybody says that's the park at Walt. Walt's spirit's still there, or
Yeah.
however you want to say it. And
You do
that's
feel that way when you walk through.
that's everyone says it's a little smaller, a little tighter than our Magic Kingdom, but it's just so well done. And of course, Fantasyland got the redo in '84, and I guess that really made it cool because it used to be kind of like our Fantasyland, which is it's
Kinda
just
hokey.
it just yeah, it looks like a medieval circus or whatever they're trying to pull off there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And when do you first remember hearing about Disney World?
Well, on Sunday nights at 7 p.m., we always watch Disney's Wonderful World, The Wonderful World of Disney. And
Mhm.
Walt Disney, from 1954 to his death in 65, December 15th, Kyla's birthday, actually. My
Welcome
grandmother.
back, Walt.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. He had a show on TV on Sunday nights for an hour, and part of it was showing Daniel Boone and all these different things. But that's how we started getting the word out about Disneyland, and that's how we first heard about it. And then Disney World, after his death, they still use that show called The Wonderful World of Color. And that went on till almost, I think, 79. And that's when they don't have the Walt Disney show on anymore on Sunday nights. But yeah, that's where I heard about it. That's where everybody heard about it. So
Magic Kingdom opened 71, so just
71,
a year
October
after
1st.
you went to land. Was there ever any consideration to not do the land trip and go to World instead? Since it was so close.
because we'll get into when we went in a little bit, I guess. But
To World?
no, to go on the vacation we went on to Disneyland was a vacation of a lifetime.
To hit all the things on the way.
Grand Canyon, I mean,
Yeah.
Rocky Mountains, I mean, Mount Rushmore. This is all one vacation,
Do you still think that was the best vacation you ever took?
hands down.
Wow.
Even to this day, even with all the stuff that Dwayne and I've done, I can't. How can you
can't
beat
beat
that?
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can beat it. You can go around the world 20 times, but
Yeah, but there's, the memories associated
for a
with
10-year-old kid,
Yeah.
all of us kids always say that is the trip. And my sisters have traveled all over the world, and they still remember that trip very fondly. Probably a lot to do because we were just young.
Yeah, it's
when you're
great
young,
ages to go.
makes a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So how old were you when you first went to Walt Disney World?
13, 1973.
Okay, so not too long after.
Spring break. Grandpa, my father, your grandpa, was a math teacher at Alpena High School, Michigan, right? And we get spring break off, get a week. So what we'd do is dig out the trailer on the side of the house. We had a Starcraft pop-up camper that pulls out. That's what we camped in for about 7 years. Grandma Jola did not like that camper, my mother. I mean, it wasn't
can
very fun
imagine
for
that.
her.
Yeah.
But we'd actually dig it out of the snowbank because this pile's full of snow, and we would take the camper down to Florida and go to a Kennedy Space Center, Magic Kingdom. There wasn't anything else yet, right?
Yeah.
Epcot was 82 October 1st, I think. So it was always the Magic Kingdom. And then we went to Cypress Gardens to watch the water ski show, would go to the ocean and the Gulf or Daytona Beach for a day and do the Florida thing,
That's interesting.
Yeah. That was
Wow.
73. So I was 13. Yeah, I was like around eighth grade.
So how did you like, because obviously you were always pretty into space, right?
I was a space cadet. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how did you, because I think about that trip and I would just be like the whole time, just like, I just want to be at Disney. So how did you, like, how were those other things in comparison at that age, you know?
Well, when we went to Kennedy Space Center, it was the first time I ever went, was 13. One of the Apollo rockets was on the pad that was going to be going to the moon. They
Oh.
did many launches after 1969. The first time on the moon, there were many launches.
Yeah.
And we actually saw, I think, I don't know what Apollo it was, maybe 13 or 14, but it was on the pad. That's back in the day where the tour bus would take you very close to it. Now with all that, since 9/11, you can't do any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then, so that was really special to see that.
Sure.
And we only went to the Magic Kingdom again one day.
Right.
We didn't go back, park hopper or
Did they have like the capacity to stay on property back then? Like, did they have hotels? Did they have like
they had the Contemporary.
Okay.
They had the Polynesian.
Okay.
Okay, on
Yeah,
Bay
yeah.
Lake, right?
Yeah.
The Grand Floridian, well, that much later.
Okay.
That wasn't there. This
Oh,
is 1973. Oh yeah, it was just those two hotels.
That's right. Didn't they open the Grand Californian later as well in Disneyland?
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah,
Disneyland Hotel for a long
It was
time.
Disneyland Hotel for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. What else you got?
Well, so from that trip when you went to Walt Disney World, what was a notable ride at Disney World? Was it still Haunted Mansion or what was like the big ride there?
Well, Space Mountain didn't come until 75, so that wasn't there yet. The Magic Kingdom, if you see old videos of it, you can see again on YouTube, many different old videos, 16 millimeter home videos. There was a whole lot there. I mean, you look across like, well, where's that? Where's Space Mountain? It's not there. You can see the Contemporary Hotel plain as day, where Space Mountain kind of, in the viewpoint off in the distance.
Really?
So Pirates and Haunted Mansion will always be, I went there, will always be until this day. There's other rides I really like, but for me, again, it has all to do with childhood. I firmly believe it. The ones that you really enjoyed as a child, you're probably going to love when you're 60.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
I feel like that's why I like Pooh so much.
Yeah.
I just really
And
liked it as a kid.
so that's the first time you went on Pirates was then at Walt Disney World when you went in 73.
Yes, and I actually got a booklet that explained how they made it and the Imagineers and everything and pictures of the ride. And somewhere in my closet, I still got that book.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
just
that is awesome.
it's just a little paperback book, but I found it the other day and it's pretty cool.
It's super interesting to me that neither you nor Olivia in your trip to Disneyland got to go on Pirates, and their Pirates is significantly superior to ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's played in reverse. It starts off with the dead pirates, right?
Yeah,
It works kind of backwards, but yeah, you got two. You go down a waterfall,
Just the
you go
whole
up a
intro
waterfall.
section is like so much longer and more drawn out. It's way cooler. I think
Well,
the whole
hopefully
ride's better.
someday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is funny that it was closed for refurbishment when we went, so we did not get to go on it either, and I was so disappointed. But I actually didn't know that you hadn't been on it there, Dad. I thought you had been on it at Disneyland, so that's
I've
funny.
never seen it at Disneyland. I always wanted to, never have. Just
Wow,
haven't been
that's
out that way.
crazy. So at the time, did you love Disneyland more or Disney World? Like once you had been to both, was it just like a Disney obsession? No necessary like one or more than the other, or
To be
were you?
brutally honest, I don't think I was really Disney obsessed when I was a kid.
It was more
Okay.
like once you had
It
us.
became more when I moved to Florida, and then I started going nuts about it.
Because
That's
it's
when
so
you guys were
accessible.
around, and all of a sudden we're going all the time with annual passes, and I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the rides and the attractions and the fireworks and all that, but as you probably know, I enjoyed all the behind the scenes things, the utilidors. I think Olivia and I went on a tour, didn't we? Underneath the Keys to the
Mhm.
Kingdom, we went under the king, Magic Kingdom. How things work, how the computers drive all the different parades and all. There's so much to talk about with all that alone. That's what I really got turned on to is how everything runs and operates, and the attractions too, of course. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So what year did we first get annual passes? So we moved to Florida in 99. Do you remember what year
99.
we first we did? Okay.
Your mom, I remember this like it was yesterday. Your mom, I remember two purchases she made with only being down in Florida maybe a month. I think we went with you guys once when we first moved down there in July. Great time to move down to Florida. It was
Oh.
like 9,000 degrees.
Yeah.
And then I remember saying, "Hey, come here. I bought some things." And I said, "What did you buy?" She pulls out cell phones. These are probably flip phones when they first started coming out, right? I mean, they were very basic. Oh, cell phones. We're from Alpena, Michigan. They don't have any cell phones up
Yeah, I was
there.
gonna say they probably don't even have a cell phone store in
They,
Alpena.
and I doubt it. And then and she goes, "And I got annual passes for everybody." Oh, you did you? Okay. So that's where all the insanity started.
Wow.
And the annual passes, I think one of your questions, one of the annual passes, I think are around $200 a piece or something like that.
Really?
Okay, so they were still pricey-ish.
Yeah, it still
They're
sounds
still
pricey.
pretty pricey for back in 25 years ago.
Right. Yeah. That's not, I thought
wasn't
that they
cheap.
were like $80.
No.
Was that like a day ticket maybe?
No, I think a day ticket was like 45 or something.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
So
40 or
then,
45.
but there wasn't probably like blackout dates or like
No,
times you
no.
couldn't
Tiers.
No,
There's no
no.
tiers.
Yeah.
None of that, all that stuff they started the last 10 years. They haven't done that. No, you go whenever you want and you can hop to whatever park you wanted, whatever, however you wanted to do it. It was great.
Mm.
And we used
Yeah.
them
Oh, yeah,
heavy
we did.
duty.
Yeah, we did.
I mean,
Yeah,
every other, I don't know if we ever went once a month, but it was pretty close to that.
I felt like we went like every other weekend almost. It felt
Yeah.
like as a kid. I don't
There
know.
are times where we went probably more than we probably should have.
I was telling Steph when we were driving just down from Raleigh earlier this week. There's that red and white water tower by Fantasy of Flight. You know what I'm talking about? That you
Yeah.
pass every
Oh,
time
yeah.
on I-4. I was telling her about how when I was a kid, I had like literally no comprehension of distance and how far away
No, you
things.
didn't
I
do
just
real
I
well
sat
in
in the
that
car
category.
and I thought that we were in the car for 10 years every time we were in the car. And so like whenever we would pass that, I thought that water tower was Michigan. Like
Oh my gosh.
because I
What?
associated the red and the white colors with Big Boy,
Oh, that's funny.
and I associated Big Boy with Michigan. So I was
Oh
like,
my
every time I saw the water tower, I was like, we've been in
We
the car
drove to
so long,
Michigan.
we're like right there. Yeah, Michigan's right there. And like I thought, like I had no idea. Like I remember vividly that being a thing because there were all those like landmarkers as we passed, and like Fantasy of Flight was one of them.
That was the big one. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the Mickey
Yeah.
wires, you knew
Yeah.
we were there.
Yeah.
And we still joke about that when Doreen and I go past that. My wife and I go past that. Oh, there's the Mickey wires.
Yeah.
It's always kind of a joke.
Because now
Yeah,
a big
I
one for me is the
definitely.
Polytechnic University, the big
Oh yeah.
on the side. That's
And
a huge
crazy
landmark.
architecture on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the listeners, like to give some context. So we're from like Bradenton, Sarasota area. So it back in the day probably took a little under an hour and a half. Now it takes probably about 2 hours, depending on the time of day. It can take longer than that
Yeah.
for the drive. But yeah, that's what I remember as a kid is actually the guy hanging out of the back of the airplane at Fantasy of Flight.
Yeah.
Like and I was like, okay, we're close. We're very close. And then seeing the ears, I'm like, we're here. Like and the loop to go around to
And
Magic
we would start
Kingdom. Like,
singing.
yeah,
We would always start
MICKEYMOUSC. Yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, I definitely remember that. So Disney hotels. Which Disney hotels have you stayed in? I know we
Okay.
stayed in many as a kid.
You guys probably stayed in all of them, but
No.
No.
I stayed in very few. All-Star Music, All-Star Sports, probably because at the time they were relatively inexpensive. Not the case anymore.
They're not too bad.
Wilderness Lodge,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like,
Contemporary.
were those still like they are now?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
it's like,
They're fantastic. Well, I don't know. They were expensive, but we did stay there a night or two. Those are the two. I thought Wilderness Lodge is one of my favorites because
Yeah.
it's kind of that Northwest feel.
yeah, Steph really wants to stay there.
Where else? There's the one that has the Aztec feel to it. Help me out.
Coronado
Coronado
Springs. I,
Springs.
I just stayed there when I was
Coronado
there. Yeah.
Springs. We did that during a Halloween time. We went with one of the Halloween parties. Swan and Dolphin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My personal.
I never did the Polynesian Isles. Wanted to, but never did. I
Okay.
don't think I'm maybe missing out on all that much.
That's one that we'd like to.
Grand Floridian. I had no desire for that. That was a little bit too foo
Yeah,
for
it's
me.
so bougie.
But yeah, that's probably it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I have pictures. I gotta find them. I've seen them recently, so I gotta find the prints. But of when I went for my first Disney trip, I think we stayed at All Star Movies. because I have a picture of me with the 101 Dalmatians like cutout thing that's still there,
Yeah, yeah.
standing in that.
That
And
could
I'm
have
trying to
very
find on my phone right
that
now.
could very well be it. Yeah.
And I used to be obsessed with the giant Toy Story figures
Yes.
that are there.
Buzz Lightyear and
Because that's where we've
Yeah.
stayed most of the times that Steph and I have stayed on property, we stay at All Star Movies,
mhm.
and those are all still there, those statues, and it's cool.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
stayed at
That, I mean,
Coronado
for,
Springs this last time, and I was honestly not that impressed.
yeah, I don't
I
love
remember
Colorado
that too. Yeah,
Springs.
it was very sprawling, and I remember carrying. I was probably carrying Regan when this, and that's how long ago it was, where you were small and you guys fall asleep, and it was like carrying a sack of potatoes because you're sleeping and you're
Yeah, and
just
you're
like
just
dead
knocked
weight.
out. Yeah,
It's like, are we at the roof yet? You know, it's like you're walking 7 miles.
yeah. The
to
rooms
find your
are
room.
super far from everything. At
Yes,
that
and
hotel.
so
Yeah.
that's what I remember of that, and that wasn't good.
But Wilderness Lodge, I've wanted to stay at. Steph's wanted to stay
Yes.
at for a long time. But all those, I mean, if you're not staying at All Star now, it's like you better be ready to pay an arm and a leg
Oh, I
these
know.
days.
I know. That's why
Right.
we
Oh,
started
it's
camping
crazy.
and even that is an arm and a leg down
Right?
too.
Yeah.
At Fort Wilderness.
Or Wilderness Campground, yes, is one of the biggest ones in the United States, but it's yeah, you you pay the piper for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then what is your favorite parade or nighttime show? It doesn't have to be current, obviously. What has been your favorite in the past?
Uh, I'm not up to speed on all the fireworks stuff like you guys are. I normally get that information from Regan.
Yeah, we had to educate ourselves.
Yeah. Only because I have really fond memories of it has to be Fantasmic.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It just, I remember taking both of you when you were young. I remember taking Michaela a few times. During and I have gone a few times on our own, but and the changes they made, everything's bound to change.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with the changes. It's not that big a deal. But it's just the way it's presented. The music. I know Regan used to have I think had the cassette
Soundtrack,
tape, and
yeah.
maybe it was a CD.
CD, yeah.
He used to fall asleep to it. Listen,
Yeah.
he was obsessed with Fantasmic when he was young. I'm
Mhm.
sure he still really likes it.
So I do. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
would say probably Fantasmic. I don't know. I think it's one of the best shows there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It
And
is very, very
then
solid.
how would you say your visits have changed over the years to Disney?
They've been a lot
from
less.
Yeah.
You go from every other weekend to like every other year.
Well, you had so you had an annual pass from 99 until did you have it all the way through until you stopped getting it a few years back?
We stopped getting it when we got Ralphie, our retired racing greyhound dog, in 2017. Only because I think we were kind of, I know this is a Disney podcast, but I was kind of burned out on the Disney thing. We went so much. We took Michaela, my granddaughter, I should say one of my granddaughters.
Yeah.
But we took her quite often because we were, involved in her life a lot back then.
Yeah.
And so we just got annual passes. We just went a little bit more. I'd say every couple of months we would go with her. But I think I got to the point where you can only ride on the Pirates of the Caribbean and Space Mountain, and so many times after a while you're like, I just need a break. And you probably don't. You're probably not there yet, but we were. I was for sure, and I think Doreen was too at some point. And but then it was nice to come back a few years later. We started doing the Halloween parties again, which I still have fond memories of that. And we went when you kids were young. I built the pirate ship stroller. We had some epic times with that,
Yeah.
all dressed up like pirates and all that about 10 years ago. But yeah, I think I got a little burned out on just because we went so much. Like anything, you just can kind of get burned out on it. But it's been fun to come back and revisit it and see new attractions and go, wow, I haven't seen this yet. And there's still a lot of things I haven't seen yet that you guys have seen on a regular basis. So
Yeah, the last time that you went was the first time that you saw Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge.
yes.
But you still haven't seen Pandora.
I've
right?
not seen Pandora because we haven't been to
It's
the Animal
hard
Kingdom.
to cough up a day ticket for Animal Kingdom these days.
Yeah, Animal
Like,
Kingdom's
Yeah,
Yeah,
they never
that's a hard
said that
one.
was really a full day park. They tried to make it a full day park, and I just don't think they ever got there. But maybe some of the changes coming
yeah,
up,
Tropical Americas and stuff.
yeah, that might help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're getting down to in the time, last kind of question, and then we're going to do some rapid fire at our normal old versus new and everything. But what do you think makes Disney so special or unique compared to other theme parks like Universal, Busch Gardens, Knott's Berry Farm? Like, why is Disney so special?
I had to really think about that, but I think for a lot of people, it's been part of Americana since the 1930s. And Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
When Mickey Mouse came out, Walt Disney and his brother and his group of artists, they weren't Imagineers yet. That came when they started Disneyland. I just think it's been, Mickey Mouse watches and Mickey Mouse uh, plush toys, or all those things that have been since the 30s. And in the movies, Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie, it's part of Americana. And I think Walt made it a real family park, where a lot of theme parks for the longest time before that were kind of seedy and kind of just for kids or teenagers. It wasn't really a family place, and Walt made it a family place. That was his intention. He said, I got to build a park that's for families. That's how it all started, right? Took his two girls when they were little on some park in California. I don't have all the details off the top of my head, but they were riding a carousel by themselves, and he's sitting there on a bench, and all these other parents were all sitting on a bench. And I got to make a park where the parents will have just as much fun as the kids. And that's kind of how that all started.
Yeah.
And I think that's why. It's in the psyche of not just the United States, but across the world for years and years and years and years and years. And I think things have changed a little bit there. I won't get into all that, my personal beliefs of all that and how I feel about all that. But I think that's why Disney has endured for so long. And it's so popular.
Just because it's not just for kids, it's for everybody, really.
It's for everybody. And of course, they've taken new attractions and rides to different levels, but they're being, that's being tracked down now by Universal, and other people might catch them and go right past them. Universal's tearing it up. So
yeah, Epic Universe is looking pretty good.
Yeah, they build rides fast, and they don't wait around like Disney. Sometimes spends a little too much time just getting the attractions built, as we all know.
Yeah, like Tron.
Tron and Epcot, finishing Epcot.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole nother topic, I'm sure.
That's a whole nother podcast episode. Okay, cool. So a couple of rapid fire questions, and then we'll get into the old versus new for this week. But what is your favorite ride at Magic Kingdom?
Currently.
Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion. Okay.
Never
and
gonna
then
change.
what about Epcot?
So I know this is rapid fire. It's gonna be real weird. I'm gonna say Spaceship Earth.
Okay.
It's like the only thing left that's old.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
I remember fond memories going with you guys, and it
is like the only thing left that hasn't changed besides like Figment, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, even Figment was different initially, I believe.
That's true.
Okay. All right.
And then Animal Kingdom. Any favorite there? I know it's not. That's kind of a hard one.
Of the 6 rides.
Yeah. Of the
kidding.
6 things to do.
I guess it would have to be Everest.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. The whole theming and the coaster's pretty cool. I would say Everest.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then Hollywood Studios.
Tower of Terror, man. Tower of Terror.
Yep. Me too.
I
Still my favorite ride ever.
I really want to show you the Guardians version of that.
I know, yeah.
I'm sure that's awesome at
California
Disneyland,
Adventure.
Or California Adventure, that's right.
Yeah, super cool. And then what's your favorite ride that's now gone? Any of the parks?
I'm not going to say Doug Live. Sorry, love. That's now gone.
Yeah.
That's really tough. From all the parks. Again, going back to my childhood, Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
Bring back Mr. Toad at the Magic Kingdom. I know that sounds silly, but I thought that was just a really fun ride for.
So that was Pooh.
That's what Pooh is now.
Okay. So I always thought when I was younger that it used to be where Snow White was, and then Snow White got replaced as well.
Yeah. Which also, what a terrible replacement with a princess hall.
They could have found other space for that.
Snow White's Scary Adventures. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But all of those rides are still in that little square in Disneyland. It's like you can just boom, 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 boom right there. And they got a Pinocchio one that's really cool.
Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland is really cool. Yeah, they have a lot of really great dark rides there.
Yeah, they definitely do the dark rides well. And who is your favorite Disney character? I think I know the answer. I feel like it's obvious.
You're saying character like somebody that wanders around the park? Character?
Or just like movie character.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I
That's what I was going to
say
say
Mickey.
too.
Okay,
Mickey?
Jack Sparrow.
Ah,
Yeah.
not Mickey. Really? I like Tigger for the ones that walk around the park because Tigger always cracks me up. But it's got to be Jack Sparrow, and it'll probably always be Jack Sparrow. I still love all those movies.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question was going to be favorite Disney movie. So would you say Pirates?
Yeah, probably Pirates 1 because it
Yeah.
kind of started it all. Some of them
Yeah.
get a little out there, but Pirates 1 and 2 I really like. There's some other ones I like too, but 1 and 2 will always be my favorites.
Yeah.
I still remember going to see that in the theater and
Yeah,
just
me too.
like being blown away. Like I
Right.
think
Yeah.
I was reading this article about how Keira Knightley did not think it was going to do well and was kind of like, "Oh, I'm in this hokey Pirates movie," and then it just like
Blew
exploded.
up.
Like
Yeah.
it's just amazing. The music, Regan and I talk about the music a lot on this podcast,
Well,
just
it's
like
always
how
crazy to me that like that and Haunted Mansion came out like about the same time, and like how
yeah.
different the reception was is insane. Like,
Which we
and like
also
that's not
saw
even
in
like it's
theaters.
not even like a horrible movie. Like it's kind of
It's
funny, but it's
fine.
like
Yeah.
nowhere near the level of Pirates, like the
Yeah.
success that Pirates had.
Yeah, both Haunted
No.
Mansion movies to me, I didn't care for either one
I
of
haven't
them.
seen the second one or the new
We
one.
watched
Oh,
a while
yeah.
back and did
It's
nothing
it's
for me.
scarier. The
Yes,
second
it's
one's
scarier.
actually scary. The first one had some jump scares or whatever, but was kind of cheesy with Eddie Murphy. But okay, cool. And then so our next segment is our old versus new, where we talk about, two things and kind of compare. But this one I had to pick Haunted Mansion at Disneyland or Haunted Mansion at Magic Kingdom in Disney World. Which one do you like better and why?
I have to say it'll always be the one at Disneyland
Okay.
because uh, those Imagineers, that a lot of the Imagineers were artists that were uh, um, penned, Snow White, Cinderella. They became Imagineers. Walt used those people. So those are all the guys that made that. That was the original Haunted Mansion. I know the other one came out just a couple of years later, almost a carbon copy. Almost, there are a few different things, I guess,
Hmm.
originally. We had the old beat up, scary house where they had just kind of this plantation style Southern mansion house. I guess it's still like that from what I gather.
Yeah.
But I always will like the original because it was the original, and that's the one I remember going in when I was 10. And it was I went home and did a spook house in my garage after that, which was hokey as all get out, with one of my friends, and we charged the neighbors, the kids, a quarter to go in our little haunted mansion spook house. It was really cheesy. I won't get into all that. It's probably a whole nother podcast, all my cheesy things I did like that when I was a kid. But yeah, it was, and to this day, some of the special effects and things they did in there were real. And it wasn't really all that cutting edge. It was just very creative. So it'd always be
Yeah.
Disneyland's version.
What about you, Regan? Do you have a preference between the two?
Haunted Mansion Holiday.
Oh, no.
It's
What?
so good.
Like the
And
Nightmare
it's
Before Christmas
yes, because
overlay?
it's completely different.
Oh, see,
Like,
I'm
and
not.
that's what I really, really like. Like, and I like that I can experience that briefly and like then it's gone and you can have the original back. It's not just like they replaced it forever. Like, but like, yeah, the Haunted Mansion Holiday is so good. I love it.
Okay. I'm gonna just say the Disneyland version because I think between the two, the outside to me is so cool. It's definitely New Orleans French Quarter fits the vibe 100%. So between, the two, I love the one at Disney World just because we went so much as a kid, but going to the one at Disneyland, I was like, okay, this is like I can see the vision much more there and the movies and everything like New Orleans like tying it in. It just
Yes.
fits really well.
All right. Go ahead
Okay,
and go into
so
trivia.
yeah, trivia question. So this is one I actually don't know the answer to. I found a pretty good site now. I feel like different than we've been using Regan
Yeah,
for
that site
questions.
sucks.
But how many times has Disney World closed to the public? And I feel like this is relevant only because we're recording this on September 25th and there's a hurricane coming, like literally imminently.
But
So
they
we
didn't
ended up
close, they're
recording a
just
little
canceling
earlier
the
with our
Halloween
dad.
party.
Yes, but like, so how many times have they closed in general? Like, so they don't usually close for things like hurricanes or storms unless it's crazy.
So not
But
total
they closed
days,
on
just
nine
amount of
11,
times
right?
they've closed and opened. So like
What?
I'm thinking about COVID, right? They closed for COVID, but I don't know how many days they closed for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no,
But
just
that's
like
like
how many
one
times?
closure. Okay.
Episode. Yes, period. Yeah. Because they closed for 9/11, right, Dad? I'm assuming.
Yes, I believe so.
The hesitation.
I
I would hope so.
yeah, I
So
remember actually
the
going at
options,
yeah, I actually remember going very not long after 9/11, and because all the commercial flights and international flights were all
Oh,
stopped,
it's probably a great
there was hardly
time to
anybody
go.
there, and you guys were there with
Well,
us, and
but
we
that
went. It
goes
was
for
like
every
we were
time
just
there's
hopping
a
on all the rides because there's really anybody there. It was
yeah.
really
That goes for every time there's like a widespread panic about everything. It's the best time to
or a
go.
hurricane or
Hurricanes,
something, or
yeah. The
yeah.
COVID was incredible time to go right before they closed and right after they opened. It was like there was nobody there.
So, and it's your question is in its history, how many times has it closed in its history?
yeah. So here's the options. There's options, which
Oh,
makes it
okay.
a little easier. 9, 0,
Sounds right.
1, or 4.
I'll go four.
4. Yeah,
Rig, what do you think?
4 sounds right. I was gonna say
4.
9, but I think 4 but I can count 4. So if 9/11's one of them, COVID,
Yeah.
Irma,
Yeah. Did they
and
close for
probably
Irma?
yeah, they did. They closed for one
Okay.
day for Irma. Um, and then there's got to be at least one other hurricane that's done it.
Okay. So I'm gonna say 4.
I feel like I
No,
remember them saying, "Is it 9?"
it's 9, but it doesn't tell me what 9 things, which is annoying. But it's 9. It's closed 9
Interesting.
times. Probably if you think about like Hurricane Andrew, like bad hurricanes back in the day, that's
I
that's
guess.
probably that's
Well, it's been
probably
open
it.
since 1971, so
Yeah, that's a
there's a
lot of
lot of
years. Yeah.
years. I mean, nine times
Yeah.
is very little
Right.
time to think about it, right? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
true.
That's
Okay,
crazy.
well,
Okay.
we
We
blew that
failed.
one.
Okay, we get a lot of those wrong.
Yeah, it's harder than we think.
So
Okay,
anyway,
so
let's go
that's
into news.
yeah, so some
Oh,
Disney news. So there's a couple things. Do you want to start, Regan?
no, I was gonna say I hope you wrote stuff down because I've not really seen much
I did.
this
I
week.
did. Well, so a couple things since we last recorded. James Earl Jones passing away. So
Ah, yeah.
I actually listened to somebody else's podcast, shout out the Castle Chat. They did a little thing about him and I learned a lot about him. I knew he was Mufasa. I knew he was the voice of Darth Vader. I didn't know that he did not play the body of Darth Vader in the
Oh, I
first
knew
few
that.
movies.
Because if you
He
hear
was
the
just a
voice that was in the mask, it's hilarious because it does not sound like James Earl Jones.
He voiced Darth Vader. Yeah.
Mhm.
and he wasn't even credited in those two movies because he considered it being sound effects, not his voice. So
Oh,
he is
wow.
not in the credit. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. I bet you he
And
is now, like
that
in
was
the
his
remastered
choice.
versions and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably. But I learned about that.
He
So
was in
yeah,
Field of Dreams
obviously
too.
Field of Dreams, and he was apparently in some movie in Wilmington. The girl in Castle Chat that I listened to, she lives in this house in Wilmington where this movie was filmed, which is so cool. We were just in Wilmington last week, Hollywood of the East, super cool film city. But yeah, so I learned a lot about him and just his upbringing. I guess he had a stutter as a kid, and so he had to really work through that, and then he became this huge actor like much later in life, but kind of got
Sure.
a late break. So
Right.
that was interesting. But yeah, so big Disney legend that passed. And then Regan, you and I kind of briefly talked about this, but they're bringing an ice skating show to Hollywood Studios for Jollywood Nights.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. I think it's supposed to be like in front of the now Mickey and
Yeah.
Minnie's Runaway, really like Chinese theater where we kind of stood to watch that projection show.
Yeah. Where they used to do the Star Wars show where all the characters would just walk on stage and pose and then leave.
Where the giant hat was, the
Yeah, where
giant
the giant
Yeah.
sorcerer
hat
hat,
was.
Yeah.
Mickey's
Yeah, so
sorcerer hat.
but it's only for Jollywood Nights. So, I mean, my theory is that they're testing it to see if it could be something, but Regan said no, he thinks it's just, is that right?
No, I mean, yeah, I don't see where an ice skating show would fit into Disney, like long
What do you
term.
mean, Disney on Ice? It's literally a whole thing.
Yeah, but how are they going to sell tickets to Disney on Ice if they have it accessible in the parks?
Well, it's like a little show. I don't know.
I mean,
I
I
don't know.
guess, but like, I don't know it depends. Like, if they get rid of something else to put it inside somewhere, maybe, but like, not just like this temporary setup they're going to have for this thing.
Yeah, true. And then another thing for the holiday is that I saw that I was like, oh, this could be kind of cool, is that Living with the Land is doing a holiday behind the scenes walking tour where you can actually walk through it, which is kind of cool. So you
Just in
pay a
case you
little
wanted to
extra
go at a
money.
slower pace through the greenhouse.
Well, you're gonna get some haters. There are some Living with the Land
Yeah, there are some
stands
fans. Yeah.
out there. They love Living with the Land. But I actually was like, oh, that could be kind of cool. Like I've always wanted to see kind of in where they're growing stuff in the actual like laboratories.
See,
But
I was
that
really
is
excited to
coming.
go on that ride with you during the challenge because they had it all decked out for Christmas. But when you go during the day, it still sucks because it's not lit up. Like you have
Yeah,
to wait
yeah. I
until
think
the till the like till nighttime for it to be cool.
nighttime. But then it's
Yeah,
not open for after hour stuff, right?
not
Like it
after
closes
hours,
at
but
9
it's still open when the sun goes down.
when it's dark. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you
I
can
don't think I've
imagine why it's not open after hours during, right? Because who's going to want to sit there and, watch
Look at
carrots
in the
hanging from the
dark
plants
ceiling
in
and
plants.
bananas hanging from the ceiling? After a while, it's not working for me.
the
Yeah. And then did you hear about the payment issue with the Disney app
Yes,
that
I actually
so I
tested
guess
that.
and it wasn't working?
Yeah, I went in to see if the app message would pop up and everything, and yeah, it didn't work. Not only that, but people couldn't. So, in case you didn't see or hear this, so there was literally like you couldn't pay for anything with the Disney app on a day at the park. So you couldn't get lightning lanes. You couldn't use your card to pay for anything that it was
What
attached to it.
happened? You got hacked or something?
No, it's just some kind of like outage.
Oh,
And it was like,
I would
I mean,
be
like you couldn't do
Can you
anything.
imagine being a
Like
challenge day and you can't
yeah,
buy
well,
anything?
but that's why I mean, you buy all that stuff ahead of time now,
Yeah, but I guess if it was your
wow.
day to buy, you couldn't buy, right?
Right.
You'd have to wait for them to
right? You had
figure
to
it
wait
out.
for them to figure it out and then
Oh,
buy. Yeah.
I
But yeah,
don't think
people
I've
were
ever
saying like
heard of
get
this
cash
happening.
before you go to the parks, and it was like 2 p.m. by the time this was. I'm like, people are already
Yeah,
at the parks. Like, what are they supposed to do? They can't pay for anything.
yeah, like quick
Like
service meals.
I think payment terminals were down.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you couldn't pay for like at all, like with card. I'm sure
or
they
if it was just
had a way.
mobile.
I
I
think it
guess
was all
you
on the
can accept
app.
it locally. I think because that's happened before to me.
Yeah,
So I guess there is ways to do it even if you're not fully connected. But I mean, yeah, that's just a crazy thing to happen.
yeah.
Um, but it's
I could
just
not.
like I mean, the lightning lane thing that happened in the Park Speed video when they were like, it was
Oh,
challenge day
yeah,
for
they're
them, and they were
stuck.
like, oh, we can't cancel or modify any lightning lanes. It's like we would be done for without being able to cancel them all. We spend 90% of the day mashing to modify lightning lanes. Like,
Yeah, and they still finished.
yeah, and they still finished.
That's crazy. That's
They need to make a
crazy.
comeback.
So since we have a little bit of time, I guess I'll ask Dad this question. What was your thoughts, Dad, when we first talked about doing the challenge and Regan told you this idea of like, what did you think?
Well, my first thought was it's impossible.
Yeah,
There's
me
just no
too.
way anybody could do that. That's just, not that you wouldn't want to do it. I mean, it's something, I probably would still like to do at some point, but now that I can see that people actually can do it if it's planned properly. But yeah, I thought it was just an impossible thing, not a crazy thing to want to try it, but I just didn't think it was possible. And then apparently people and you guys almost did the whole thing, right? Other than having some
Yeah.
rain delays and some crazy things happen because you
Uh,
never know what's going to happen, right? That's
Yeah, actually your
Psychotic
favorite
day.
ride. Your favorite ride screwed
the
us
Haunted
at the
Mansion.
Oh
end.
yeah.
We got
Haunted
stuck for like
Mansion.
40 minutes.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, the ghost
I thought
house took
Regan
care
was
of
gonna
you.
riot. He was
I
gonna
was
run
getting
off that
so
ride.
mad. Yeah, because it kept taunting us. It would go and then it would stop. It would go and then it'd stop, like over and over.
Yeah.
I thought it was great because you guys were doing it together too. And Regan, you did it by yourself first, right?
I did it with Steph and two of my friends
Okay,
first, but
that's
it was
good.
like a half attempt. We
It
only
did
made it
not
to like
go well.
7
You
p.m.
flamed
Yeah,
out fast, or they flamed out fast,
yeah,
yeah. But then when you guys did it together, I thought it was great. You guys are, good friends and brother and sister, and it was very cool. That was
yeah.
very cool.
So
He
what
was
are your
actually
up?
there like the first time that. So when we did the thing, I don't know when that
Magic
was.
Kingdom,
Yeah, when we did Magic Kingdom
2015.
15. Yeah. Um, when we did that, I left that day because we did that so fast. Like, and we did all the shows too, and we were out by dinner. Like, and so I
Yeah.
was like, and like we didn't really plan or whatever. We were just going. Like, and so I remember leaving there that day thinking to myself, like, and I think I may have talked to him about it. Like, I wonder if it's possible to do all four parks in one day.
I probably said, no way. There's
Yeah.
no way you can do that.
And I
I
think
mean,
it
it's
is.
just, the logistics of it is insane.
Yeah. Well, and I think
Yeah.
that when was the first run? Do you have that information on you, or do you remember?
Yes, from when I did
Like from
the history
archaeology
of it.
people? I mean, the
Yeah,
first like documented run.
I think 2017.
Yeah. So like
Um,
2 years after that is when people started thinking about it. So I wish I would have gotten on the ground floor a bit earlier. Um, but I really didn't think it was feasible back then. Like, especially with like 2017, you already had ditched the paper fast passes. I feel like it would be a joke if the paper fast passes still
I love the
existed.
paper fast passes. To this day, I love
It
Yeah.
was
it.
so
It's fun.
abusable.
So easy to do.
And now like every system has had its ways of being abusable, and even this new system does. But like, yeah, I think that every like 3 to 4 months, I think you talked about getting burned out from Disney, and I think that I'm burned out on Disney casually. Like, I think going like outside of like going, so I either have to do it like right how my wife wants to do it, which is like we might not even go on rides. We just eat, we hang out, we go shopping, we just walk around
Go watch,
be
just hang
there.
out on
Yeah.
the bench, and
Like that's a whole different way of me experiencing it, as well as
Sure.
like, or just the flip complete opposite, where it's just this psychotic like try to do
Commando.
as much as you can.
Yeah, Commando
yeah.
Disney. Yeah.
And that's like, and how much the challenge stays fresh with like rides closed at this time, or now like new rides come and all these, like it just changes so frequent. Like the challenge now, compared to Parkeology's runs back in 2017, like they had to worry about like the Great Movie
So-
Ride. They had to worry about like Ellen's Energy Adventure.
2014. It was 2014. I just
2014.
looked. November
Oh,
8th,
okay.
2014. So right before you guys did the Magic Kingdom, like
Yeah.
everything in one day. So, but yeah, the Ellen's Energy Adventure and Great
Yeah.
Movie Ride alone, how much time
It's
you
like an hour and a
sit on
half.
those rides. Yeah. Yeah.
But then like, I don't know. Then you fast forward now 7, 8 years, and there's going to be four or five new attractions at Magic Kingdom to deal with when there's already 26. Like, and so it's just
Yeah.
like, it's going to change so drastically. And I just want to know if it'll ever get to a point where it is truly not possible.
I mean, probably.
If
That's
they keep adding more
probably.
additional rides,
And if they
and
keep,
Yeah.
keep cutting the times shorter,
Yeah.
and charging you
Yeah.
twice as much.
yeah.
Sorry, that's another rant. We will talk. Yeah, you guys should talk about that in some other podcast.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about that. I wish the challenge was just like Magic Kingdom was just open till 1 a.m. and you could just buy lightning lanes to do the challenge. It would make it so much more appealing. Like,
Yeah.
it would make it easier to get our spouses on board. It would make it easier. Like, it's just the fact that you have to like sell a piece of your soul every time you want to do an attempt is like
Get up at 4:30 in the morning.
so tough. When I was thinking about
Yeah.
this too, is like Kenny does runs like all the time. There's this
Yeah.
guy. He's like the top of the leaderboards. He's
Kenny the
like,
Pirate.
I don't know how old he is. He's up there in age. He's got to be.
Careful what you say.
Sorry, Kenny. Mad respect. You're insane. But like, he just hit his 2000th ride, like documented ride, doing the challenges.
Yeah.
And like,
Wow.
yeah, that's bananas to me.
Yeah, he's crazy. So any updates about your run? Because when this comes out, you will have run already, but any updates as far as your plan with Cody or what
Yeah,
the
so
haps
going
is?
into it, so we have our lightning lanes. We are doing a really unorthodox strategy. We are starting at Animal Kingdom. We will be rope dropping Flight of Passage, not unorthodox, then doing Navi River Journey, not unorthodox, but then we're bailing on Animal Kingdom and going straight
Not doing
over.
the Wildlife Express or Safari.
We will be going back for that. So
Oh
we're
my
going
gosh.
we're going to Epcot immediately after that to try and hit a
Oh.
second rope drop for Frozen, because I got to Epcot about 8:20 with my friends last time we went, and we only waited about 10 minutes for Frozen. So I think if
Okay.
we get there by that time, we'll walk right on Frozen. That also allows us to have boarding group 1 for Guardians and walk straight onto Guardians. And then so Guardians to Mission Space to 3 cabs, and then to do the rest of, so stand by for Spaceship
Make your way
Earth, and then
around.
we have a lightning lane for Nemo and a lightning lane for Figment. After Nemo, we grab Soarin, whatever, like do that whole bit. The piece that's screwing us right now is that the Remy that we picked up 8 days in advance is at 1:35 p.m. That
Oh,
was the earliest time
Oh
available.
my gosh.
So
That's crazy.
if we can't back that up, we are going to leave Remy,
Okay.
go do everything else that we can. And then Cody said that if we've done everything else and all that's left is Remy, he will buy a deluxe hotel and we'll get in for that last hour at Epcot and do Remy.
Oh
And I
my
was like,
gosh.
okay. And but
On
like
you, buddy.
the odds of that happening is low, but I was like, you know
Within
what,
the time
I
frame.
appreciate the
Yeah.
commitment. Yeah, the time frame is like finishing Magic Kingdom before 10 is going to be next to impossible. But the riverboat's open till 7, which is insane. And
Oh,
the train's open till 6. And so
I guess
we'll
'cause
be
it's the
there.
light out.
We'll be
Is
there
that
like
why?
definitely before that happens. Yeah, I think because of the light.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I
Okay.
cannot wait for the riverboat to be gone. I can't even explain to you. Like
It's
I
sinking soon.
for those to be
Yeah.
actual attractions instead of having to go on the riverboat, I can't wait.
So what is your opinion on that, Dad? Because do you have very different feelings? Are you super sad that Tom Sawyer Island and Riverboat are going or nah?
No, no. I mean, you can take those raft ride over to Tom Sawyer Island and sink those babies fast as you can. I
Yeah.
mean, it's fun for some families to go over there. Kids ran around when you guys were little. We took you over there and you ran around the island, but it's just really nothing really going on over there other than that.
It's wasted space.
It's a lot of time out of your day too, and it's those little rafts don't really have a lot of capacity,
Right.
ride capacity.
Yeah.
So they're probably looking at that too. So it's part of Disney. It's part of what Walt had back in the day. So part of it, that's nostalgia for me. But yeah, I won't. I'm sure they're going
But
to
still
replace it with
there at
something really cool.
Disneyland. Yeah, and
Yes,
still
and I
there
think
at
they're going to have something
Disneyland.
there. They're going to replace it with something really cool. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I
Is
think the
this
concept art is
picture,
cool.
is that at Tom Sawyer Island? Can you tell? Where is
uh,
that?
oh, where
You gotta
is
throw that
that?
up on the screen. I
Yeah,
thought
I
maybe
think that's in front of Aunt Polly's. It used to be Aunt
okay.
Polly's, which is a little ice cream
That's
self-serve little place that the building's still there. But you see people sometimes hanging out at picnic tables out there on the little deck. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it on
It's on
Tom
the
yeah.
Sawyer's
island. It's
Island?
on the
Okay.
island. And they served soft serve ice cream and Cokes or whatever. Not much stuff, but
It'd be way more
maybe
worth it to go over there for ice cream.
maybe a
That still
turkey leg,
exists.
maybe a turkey leg,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's been closed for a long time. But that was probably taken to Aunt Polly's. It was open then when you guys
Okay.
were little.
That's what I have a couple of Tom Sawyer Island pictures, but that one I was like, I think that's in front of with the ice cream place, Aunt
That
Polly's.
would be
Okay.
Aunt Polly's, yeah.
Okay.
Tied in the
Cool.
whole Tom Sawyer theme.
All right, well,
Okay, well, we're
let's
gonna
call
wrap
for
it up.
now. Yeah, thanks,
There's
Dad,
like
for doing this.
It's been
yeah,
fun.
there's so
We'll,
many
we'll
more questions. We'll have to get
yeah,
you back
we'll have to get
on.
you back on. Yeah, at some point.
Look forward to it.
But looking forward to Regan's Run. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're
Yeah.
getting
Go
into
Reg.
spooky season, my favorite time of the year. Love Halloween, as
Halloween's
does our
coming up.
dad.
Yeah.
So excited for all the fun stuff to discuss. But thanks again to everyone for following us, liking us, subscribing to us. I just looked right before we started recording this video, and the reel I posted today has 2,000 views, so that's pretty ballin'. So definitely appreciate the love and the comments from everybody, and just keep them coming. We're excited to get into some fun topics that y'all have picked out. But all right, for
it's
now
starting
we're
to
gonna
snowball quite a bit. Like for real, the appreciation is real.
Yeah.
We're really enjoying doing this, and it's a fun way for us to come together as a family. And now we got more of the family involved, and I'm sure we'll get other guests as well. Like it's fun to talk about Disney, the good
the
and the bad.
nostalgia and the memes, the good and the bad. We'll have to next time we got to get some stories from Dad about when we were kids and what he remembers. So we'll definitely
yes.
get into that. They're endless. But for now, we're gonna soar on out of here.
Okay, yeah, I guess we're soaring out of here. I've conformed.
Oh, Regan even said it.